The North Pole, a cold and desolate wasteland where everyone seems happy and full of joy. There is a question, though, that has been bothering experts for generations. A question that is so hard to answer because it has been buried in the snow that surrounds the North Pole. Is Santa Claus a communist? Now, this theory of Santa Claus being a communist seems absolutely crazy. You've all heard the songs, you've all seen the movies, and you might be thinking there's no way that Santa Claus could actually be a terrible, evil communist. Santa Claus is just this kind, nice, loving guy. He would never do something so evil and so heinous. And if you believe that, then you have fallen right into the propaganda trap from the North Pole. Communist dictators like Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-un, and others have been treated by their subjects as the greatest person in the world. Their faces are everywhere and they are worshipped by every single person. No one can say a bad thing about them. And guess what happens when you disagree with one of these dictators? Well, in some countries you get disappeared, or you get killed. Now, Santa hasn't technically killed anyone. You could say Frosty the Snowman is one, but we'll leave that as an accident. But what happens if you criticize Santa Claus and his regime of terror? Well, you get put on the naughty list and get a lump of coal for Christmas. Follow the line, don't say anything mean about Santa Claus, and you'll be put on the nice list and get a good toy for Christmas. The place where we see communism the most in the North Pole is with the elves. These poor elves work 364 days a year for what? Absolutely nothing. They work and they toil in Santa's workshop, and then at the end of the day, Santa and the government takes all their hard work and gives it to some random snotty-nosed kid that probably didn't even deserve it for free. The elves don't own anything. They are just free laborers working for the party, which is definitely communism. In the USSR, they forced grain requisitions, where the government would steal wheat from the peasantry, who were legally classified as state workers in collective farms. The people owned absolutely nothing. Everything was given to them by the government, just like these elves have right now. That food was given to the government where it was redistributed across the country, just like the toys on Christmas Day. The elves follow the simple motto of work is joy, work is purpose, and work is Christmas. They don't realize that they have been run into the ground with this work because they believe in the propaganda. And they are also taught at a very young age that this is how things are. You are born an elf, so that means that you are going to be making toys for the rest of your life. Don't go outside of the box. And according to the Santa Claus movie, these elves have been doing this for generations and generations, with no individualism at all. We see this a lot in the Christmas classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, as Hermie decides that he doesn't want to make toys. He instead wishes to follow his own path and become a dentist. Now, where does this get him?
Hermie doesn't like to make toys.
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 Do you mind telling me what you do want to do?
Well, sir, someday I'd like to be a dentist.
Well, he's mocked by the institution, he is mocked by his classmates, and he is forced to continue to do the work even though he doesn't want to. He even has to go to elf practice, which he absolutely despises and hates. The ridiculing of Hermie can take us right back to the Cultural Revolution in Mao's China, as Mao and his army of supporters would take people that didn't have the right opinion and they would mock them in front of everyone until soon enough they would change their mind and go back to the party. And I will just say that Hermie is lucky that he escaped when he did, because if he didn't, he would have been continuously shamed for wanting to be his own person. And there might have been other elves in that same situation where they wanted to do their own thing, but they couldn't, and the government forced them to go right back into what they were doing, even though they didn't want to. Because the elves don't have freedom, they don't have individualism, and they are just working for the state. Another example where we can see communism at full display is the Christmas classic Elf. Buddy the Elf was raised to worship Santa and follow along with everything, even though Santa knew that technically he wasn't a real elf. Buddy went to school where he was taught the government propaganda like the best way to spread Christmas cheer is singing loud for all to hear, which is necessarily false. It's not the best way. And also, Buddy fell for the terrible lie that eating candy canes, candy corn, and syrup was somehow a good diet plan. Buddy failed to realize that he was an actual human being because the North Pole controls everything. They control education, labor assignments, information, and cultural messaging. If the North Pole was a more open society, maybe Buddy could have found a book about humans or the human children that Santa Claus goes and visits and realizes, hey, I'm a human. I didn't realize that I might be an actual human, but all of that was blocked by the government because they have to keep control. Along with that, Buddy grows up thinking that his inability to make toys is a personal failure and makes him a cotton-headed ninny-muggins. And even though he continuously fails over and over again with making toys, he still has to do it. Because that is the job that the government assigned for him to do. This isn't some happy-go-lucky land full of gumdrops and candy canes. This is a closed information environment reminiscent of North Korea. This is why when Buddy finds out the truth, that he's actually a human being and not an elf, he is so upset. He's been lied to by the government his whole entire life, and his escape from the North Pole is his realization that all the North Pole propaganda was wrong. He learns that animals aren't always nice, like in the North Pole. He learns that people have different thoughts and opinions when it comes to Santa Claus. And do you see how upset Buddy gets when he finds out that his dad is on the naughty list? It is like someone ripped out his heart, threw it on the ground, and smashed it into a million pieces. Buddy is also dumbfounded when he finds out from Santa Claus that people actually don't believe in Santa Claus. And that is just the North Pole propaganda at work, my friends. I mean, it had to be shocking to realize that not everyone is forced to be happy and jolly. Not everyone worships Santa Claus, and not everyone has fallen for his lies. They lied to their people and claimed that the West is evil and the West is bad. They outlaw any imports from the outside world to keep their population under control. And all of the citizens believe that Kim Jong-un and his father and grandfather are the greatest people in the world, just like Buddy did with Santa Claus. Elf isn't just a classic Christmas story. It is an allegory for a person escaping communism and going to the West, and finally finding the truth that he has been banned from seeing all those years. And to finally put the nail in the coffin and to finally say that Santa Claus is a communist, we have to look at the classic song, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. As in that song, it claims he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake, he knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Now, this isn't just some happy-go-lucky Christmas song, this is a warning. Because do you know who else does all of those different things? Communist governments. They are constantly looking at you with cameras, making sure you are doing the right thing. And if you aren't doing the right thing, then it's straight to the naughty list, or the gulag, or to prison, or to your death. Santa is controlling. He steals from his workforce. He treats the elves like slaves. And doesn't give them free will. And he also drinks way too much milk on Christmas Eve. And all of these things point to Santa Claus being a communist. All of this makes for a good dictator in a communist country. This episode isn't supposed to dampen your Christmas spirit. Instead, it is supposed to enlighten you on what is real and what's fake. Is Santa Claus a communist? That is up for you to decide. So go and have a Merry Christmas, and hopefully I won't be on the naughty list for too long. And if you're wondering, yes, this video was a joke. I don't want to hear any comments like, that's not real communism. It's a joke, okay? This is all for fun. It's gonna be my last video for maybe a little bit, celebrating the holidays and all that stuff. So enjoy your time. Enjoy your time. And with that, once again, I just want to thank you for listening so much to this episode of the Dockery Docket. And until next time, like my mom always says, be good, be kind, be loving, goodbye.